Okay, it is 10 o'clock and we will call the order. Out loud today. Y'all are awake now, right? Call to order the administrative meeting for November 4th, 2021. All commissioners here today. Glad to have you all here. Couple of announcements. I do want to remind everyone that 1 week from today is Veterans Day. The county and state and federal offices will all be closed. And it also is a good day to stop and remember the veterans who have served our nation. And we'll talk about it a little bit funny too, but just pause for a moment and thank those who have served and given us the freedom so that we can assemble and take action and just give us the freedoms that we have. So we'll be closed. That's a week from today. So next week we'll be open Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and that will be all. So get your business done. Get your business done in those days. I don't know what it is. I was here when we got here. Are you media
Front
folks?
of mine, sure.
Throw it out there. You just want us to leave it up here?
I do, I have two officers.
Okay.
Well, I didn't hear what you have to say.
Are they on?
They are on.
Okay, good. Okay. Just leave it on. Okay. Second thing. Can you hear? Look,
Trying to make sure you don't miss anything.
right. Especially when I whisper back in Curtis. All right, the second thing is we want to remind everyone that the National Peanut Festival starts tomorrow. I believe the gates open at 5. I was going to say 4, but I know the ribbon cutting.
Really, it is 4. I think it was about ribbon cut.
Yeah, the ribbon cutting is at 5 and the gates open at 4. And it will be a wonderfully exciting time out at the fairgrounds for the next 10 days through the following Sunday. Encourage everyone to go out and get you a corn dog and some corn and elephant ear and ride the rides. And visit all the vendors that have put forth their time to be out there. I've done that a lot. That is a lot of work. And they would appreciate you coming out and visiting with them and seeing what they have to offer. We did not have a festival last year, so I know how much I can see it in your faces, how much all of y'all missed the Peanut Festival last year. So I want you to all enjoy it this year and get out there starting tomorrow. Different activities and nights and ride specials and all those kind of things. But we look forward to it. And then, of course, the parade will be Saturday week for those of you that will be in town. And hope we all have a good time and a good, busy, safe peanut festival. So look forward to that. The last thing I want to mention is that we at 11, we will be having a little press conference downstairs. Those of you that came probably saw our new vehicle that the health department and the county and the city and ADECA and fourth floor all collaborated on to get funding. That is our new mobile health clinic. Today is its first day of operation anywhere publicly, and we got that through a grant. It is going to be used throughout the community to go out currently providing COVID vaccinations. It can also be used for other things in the future as needed, whether it be testing or other type of vaccines or whatever is needed out in the community. Right now, we're going to use it as much as we can to go out in the community to places where people aren't able to get out or to get to locations to get their COVID vaccine and try to get as many people vaccinated as possible. But we're very proud of the unit. It looks very nice, and Corey with the health department, Corey Kirkland from the health department will be here at 11. I think Chris is going to be here. I think Chris will be here to talk a little bit about some of the things they're going to do, and then we'll speak about the mayor was going to be here, but he's out of town. But anyway, we just want the public to see what the grant paid for and to see what the unit looks like that will be out in the community. So it's on the west side of the building out there for those that somehow didn't see it as you came in. So excited about that piece of equipment. All right, any other announcements from the commission? Okay, and we will move right to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is under awards and presentations and is a proclamation for the Salvation Army. We'll have Captain Nathan Jones and Captain Deanne Jones with the Salvation Army. As you all know, the Salvation Army is such an important partner to us and the things we do, from EMA to providing those in need in our community. We will once again be bell ringing in competition with the city. We are working on that date. I think we're shooting for December 1st, but when it gets finalized, Jackie will get with you all, set up that time, and whoever, I'm a probate judge or who sheriff, whoever's going to help us ring on that day or whatever day we decide. But we always like to recognize them and help them kick off the cattle drive and the other things that they do. So we'll put that proclamation on the agenda if there's no objection for Monday and recognize the Salvation Army. Objection to that?
Yes.
Were you not gonna, you don't want to hear about the meeting we had, you don't want to have that as an agenda item?
No, I think.
Just comments, okay. All right. All right, moving on to the regular agenda. The first item is a request to award bid for the virtual tape library to the lowest bid. I'm gonna get it out in a minute. To the lowest bidder meeting specs. Danny Cumbie has that information and will be happy to come to the podium and tell you all about it should you want to know about it. This is a budgeted item. Do y'all have any questions about what a virtual tape library is? I'm not answering them if you do. Anyone? Y'all don't want to ask because you don't want to, never mind. Danny, you want to make any comments? Peter, want to make any comment? Y'all just want to put that on the agenda because you don't want to talk about it. All right. Any objection to adding that item to the agenda? Basically, back it up. All right, item number 2 is a request to enter into an agreement with Troy Bank and Trust for the deposit of county funds during the 3-year period beginning 1/1/2022 through 12/31/2024. Those of you that have been around a while know we bid our deposit accounts every 3 years. It's a complicated process, and thank goodness Peter does it on our behalf, along with his staff and those that are involved with the banking. We had several banks come to a meeting. We contacted all the local banks, but we had several banks come to the meeting and ended up, I think, with 5 or 6, 5 that actually submitted a proposal that was evaluated based on fees, rate of return, platforms, just everything that impacts us and our ability to bank efficiently and create as much revenue in return, which we all know interest rates are not a lot of revenue involved. But Troy Bank and Trust has the best proposal, and so that is the recommendation from the staff that is on our agenda today. If you have any questions, Peter will be happy to answer them or divert to anyone else that may have the answer.
Question.
One question.
Yes, sir.
What's that, interest rate that they proposed and what are the current?
Troy Bank and Trust offered 32 basis points. Currently with the incumbent, we are getting 25 basis points. And 32 is the highest rate of any of the banks that offered. Although, as the chairman said, that wasn't the sole criteria. It was a consideration.
Other question? Any objection to adding that to the agenda? No objection. Item number 3 is a request to approve and advertise local legislation. I keep talking about increasing the sheriff's compensation. We have been in discussion with the sheriff and have done asked personnel to do an analysis regarding our sheriff, the compensation that the current sheriff's position, not just this sheriff, but the position is paid. We compared it to several other counties similar to us in size. You have that information. You have a list of what all sheriffs throughout the state of any size, what they are paid. And as you can see, we felt like going forward, historically, there needed to be an adjustment and thought this was probably a good time to do it. The other issue that is ongoing is with adjustments in compensation and pay scale, and especially in light of us getting ready next year or the following year, I think, which to do next year to do a pay scale study. It's almost to the point that some of his senior staff is, I say his, I don't want to personalize this, that the positions in the sheriff's department and the senior staff level are almost at the point of making what the current sheriff is making. And obviously that shouldn't be that way. So we analyzed this pretty well. We came up with, we looked at Baldwin, Coleman, Lee, Madison, several other counties, not just comparable in population, but really more importantly, comparable in size of department, number of deputies, jail, comparable in what our situation of our sheriff's position is. And so came up with this, and the proposal is to move the currently our sheriff is making $102,000. This would move the compensation to $120,000. Just as an idea, Baldwin makes 115, Madison makes 130. I can read this list if you want to. Limestone, makes 127, which is about our, close to our size. A little smaller than that, actually. Elmore makes over 115, so it's right in there where we are. Is comparable. The police chief in Dothan we talked about, although honestly you can't really use that position because they're on the scale like all of our employees are. So, but still, it's in our market. He currently makes 130. So, just a comparative sake. So, we feel like the 120 is equitable amount. We have a one-page piece of legislation that would be a local bill. I've talked to the legislative delegation. They know we're doing this. If you approve it Monday, they're ready to go to LRS with it. It'll probably be changed, but not substantively. But it has to be put in the proper form and advertised. So we want they go in session the second week in January. So we wanted to go ahead and get ahead of the curve on this, and that's why it's before you now. We may have other adjustments that we may look at before also, but this one would be for the sheriff. And if you want to make any comments, or have I said everything you intended to say? I tried to say everything that you needed me to say. But you
Well, we have come a long way since 2004. Y'all have been very supportive of us, and I've learned to manage the budget that y'all give us, and we've always come out, good on it at the end of the year. But just a little bit of background on it. We had 168 employees at the time when I came in. We're up to 194 now. So we have grown there. We had 65 sworn deputies. We're now at 91, counting our part-time service. SROs, we had one. And I added one, and then 17, the school gave us 3. Well, now the school, and y'all worked it out very graciously. And now we cover all the schools with 11. So that's tremendous right there. And then once again, and I'm not throwing it for that, but right now we've purchased 65 vehicles at $1.6 million that y'all wasn't held responsible for it. We got it on our own through our discretionary. So, it's been, y'all really supported the sheriff's office. And like I said, right now, some of our staff, we had an adjustment back in 15, 16, and it lasted right at 8 years almost. So this adjustment should get us through the next 8 or 10 years, easy, where our lieutenants aren't surpassing our captains. Because I got 3 wonderful captains. But their thing is, why would I want to be a captain now if I'm not going to make what a lieutenant makes? So that's part of what we would ask. But I appreciate it.
Questions for the sheriff? Or any comments in general? Questions? Yes, sir.
I do appreciate you recognizing our support of the sheriff's department, our tremendous asset to this county. I appreciate it.
Y'all been first.
I do have just a comment. I know that, not about the sheriff, just other positions in general with inflation, the way it is, we just raised the cost of living increase for employees. I think, could be wrong, but I think the commissioners, excluding the chairman, are the only people that get a cost of living increase, shouldn't get it. There's other positions, I'm sure that.
I think there's some, scooch over and let me look at the personnel director. Are there other elected that get cost of living also besides commissioners? Yeah, there are.
There are. Okay.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, sir. What comes to?
Ricky Stokes.
That shirt's out of order.
How the right to remain silent. There's a reason for that.
Would you like to exercise that?
Not yet. 8 years ago or so, y'all were gonna raise the sheriff. Let me go back for a little history. When Lamar Glover was sheriff, he was making $65,000. We brought the police chief in, John Powell, at $73,000. That time was looking about raising the chairman of the commission. And I'm brought to your attention that, the sheriff needed a raise because he needed to be kind of in line with the Dothan police chief. Well, and he was brought up that it was for the next sheriff because of the way the legislature ran, and Sheriff Hughes got that raise, not Sheriff Glover. Well, 8 years ago or so, y'all were gonna bring the sheriff up to 80 something, 88, 89,000. I mentioned to y'all that the Dothan police chief at that time was making $95,000 a year, but would go up. So, which he did. And the former police chief retired at 130, and the new police chief came in at 130. Other than the cost of living raise, the sheriff is locked in or what his salary is because it has to go through legislature, unlike the Dothan police chief. Yes, the Dothan Police Department's a little larger than the Dothan Police Department, than the sheriff's office. But the sheriff, in addition to having 582 square miles, that includes the city of Dothan. And if he couldn't get elected without the votes of the city of Dothan. And when people from Dothan call the sheriff's office, they respond. So they respond to calls inside the city limits as well as out in the county. He has a whole city out here on East Main Street, anywhere from 325 to 400 people in the city every day that he's responsible for. What I would like to see y'all do, and I talked with one of the legislators about doing, is put that the sheriff of Houston County makes the same as the Dothan police chief, but not below like 120. So if Chief Benny retired and they brought a new police chief in and he was at 120, the sheriff would drop down. But I'm a firm believer, and this didn't just start with Donald Valenza because it goes back to when Lamar Glover was sheriff. And he and I didn't get along real well. But that I still supportive of the position that the sheriff should make equivalent to that of the Dothan police chief. They both have a large responsibility. And the sheriff has 582 square miles, where the Dothan has 89. And I will say this, because I've been in here longer than Culver has. I may not have worked for the entities, but I started in 77, was elected to office in 82. So I've been around the block a few times. Sheriff Clark had a real good relationship with Dothan, and a good working relationship. And until now, it's been the best I've ever seen with the Dothan Police Department, Sheriff's Department working hand in hand. And if you heard them a few weeks ago, they're trying to help get some situations under control of the two departments and agencies working hand in hand. But I really think, and you wouldn't have to be addressing this later, if the words written in the legislature makes the same as the police chief, but no less than, in case they hire somebody that would drop the sheriff's salary. And that would stop it also from having to go before legislature later. I know Dothan has more money than y'all. I know Dothan can raise taxes where y'all have to go through legislature. They have a lot more freedoms of things on revenue than y'all do. But I would encourage y'all to get the legislative representatives to put in there, makes the same as Dothan, but no less than the 120 or a certain amount. Because if you look at the responsibilities, they both have a large responsibility. The sheriff has an additional, because I think every sheriff in the state, probably in this country, will tell you the jail is a constant headache. So not only do you have a law enforcement, and I will say this, the sheriff's office has probably been called to more standoffs over the last 12 months than they've been called out in a long time. So the increase in violence and violent situations that they can be involved in has increased tremendously than what it used to be. And I know I called him one night and I said, they just dispatched a gunshot wound. Okay, I'm getting my pants on, because it's just like, you know, every time you turn around, there's another situation. And I will say that Sheriff Valenza gets up and goes to these calls at nights, weekends, and holidays. So anyway, I just would encourage that.
Okay. In response to that, I would say we talked about the police chief, and I don't mean to talk about the city's position, you know, but especially that we ended up comparing in the comparison information I got more to sheriffs and comparable sheriffs, still considering in the back of our minds the I won't say our own these folks, I mean just in our discussions, the police chief, but the police chief is set up on a scale that starts at 107. So if they hadn't hired Chief Benny, that's been there a while, they may have hired somebody to come in at step one at 107. So then would we be sitting here talking about raising the sheriff to 107, which is not enough, you know, so you got that side of it. The max of the police chief is 172, which is nominal, but I mean, you know, Houston County Sheriff isn't making it right now, 172 either. So because it's on a scale, it's just do what you said. We basically put our pay for our sheriff in the hands of the Dothan City Commission, or actually the city manager. And I don't know if I want to be in that position either. I'd rather us have the ability to change it when we need. And this particular pay is based on sheriffs of comparable size as opposed to, you know, chief meaning because of his years on the staff came in at a certain pay in a scale. Does that make any sense?
I just want
Well, I'm not supposed to let you talk anymore, so go back.
to, well, you can read it or you can listen. Either one.
I'll read it. Just
Okay,
but I can't, you know, I have, you know, nothing
Sheriff's
against
locked
you.
in for 4 years.
Nothing against you, but I have, you
Sheriff's
know,
locked in for 4 years.
right. Okay, did you want to make a comment?
I did.
Come on up. Nothing personal.
George Trotter, reside at 4218 County Road 203, Dothan, Alabama, 36301. I think the people across our county for good sheriff representation is priceless. Mr. Chairman, I know I'm not supposed to ask a question, but I'm kind of curious to know why you didn't give a comparison like Pike County and maybe Coffee County Sheriff. Where do they fit into this scheme? To give us a little better picture of equity here as far as,
Well, okay, go ahead.
also, I'd like to say that I've noticed, and a lot of people across our county have noticed it, that there's a lot of shared vehicle activity and personnel activity in the city limits of Dothan. We see a lot more of that than we do out across the county in the rural areas, in the smaller communities and townships across the county here in the last year in particular. And I know we're broke. The county commission broke, state broke, right? We can't get potholes and things out across. And we all know, hopefully we know, and correct me if I'm wrong, that over 65% of the sales tax revenue generated within the city limits of Dothan is generated from outside the city limits of Dothan. Yeah, we understand a lot of that through traffic and you know, people coming through, but for whatever reasons, the city of Dothan has millions of dollars of surplus money of our tax dollars. We have to come to Dothan to buy all of our big ticket items, right? Automobiles, healthcare, appliances, these type of things. Pretty much we have to come here, and that's fine. So I'm saying in this legislation, why not allow, or let's put the city into paying more for the sheriff's compensation and request them to participate in the revenue. Thank you.
Well, just to answer your question, Pike County makes around 105 and Coffee makes 86, but if the sheriff wants to address it, he certainly can. If you think the Houston County Sheriff Department is in any manner equal to the Pike County or Coffee County, you have to look at the sheriff departments. Our sheriff's department is much larger and does much more, and he has much more responsibility than Pike or Coffee County. Not him. When I say him, I don't, you know, this is about the position, not about the person. You want to address that? You could.
No, I was just,
It's up to you.
I was just saying, we're twice the size. I know Dave and I know Russell. We're twice the size of their departments, yeah. And they call us all the time for help.
Right.
So that's good.
All right, any other questions or comments? Yes, sir, Mr. Singer.
In this legislation, of course, it was stated that he's kind of locked in at that 120. And I'd like to see maybe personnel get together and see if there's some way that due to the increase in growth that we're seeing in Houston County, right now, we are the 10th highest populated county in the state. We're going to continue to see growth in the future. So instead of being, you know, see if there's some way that this could be looked at as on a staggered increase through the next years if we put this in legislation.
If you look at item number 3, that references another law. That law, that other law talks about elected officials getting COLAs when the other employees do. So when we give a COLA based on this, he would get the COLA.
Yes.
So he would get the increase.
Well, I'm talking about commissioner vote, basically. What sheriff would be, he's got, what, how many schools you have, Sheriff? 17 different county schools? How many? You have SRO?
We have 11 SROs.
11.
supervisors.
Yeah. That, that's a big responsibility right there. So, with our environment, what we're seeing, we want to make sure that we fund everything that we can for our sheriff department and our deputies to be safe.
Are there any other questions or comments? Any objections to adding this to the agenda? Now, again, let me just, this is you see it says draft in big old letters on here. This is Mark's draft. So this thing, once we advertise it, could look different, but the intent will be different. Does that make sense? Yes. All right, item number 4 is request to approve preliminary plat for Rima Oaks 2. Did I say that right?
Rama Oaks,
Rima Oaks, okay.
not two,
Not 2?
correct, just Rama Oaks.
Okay. Well, it says 2 on here.
I see that.
Okay, for Rima Oaks. Any questions or comments? Where is this located?
National.
National. In District 3. Some of your stuff. Yes, sir.
Y'all know where I'm from? I just have a quick question. And the people really, this vague statement for an item on the agenda. What is Rima Oaks? Who, where, what is it?
It's a subdivision
Where?
on National Road.
On National Road. That's out in my neighborhood. I didn't even know that. How do we know that? So what is this? We're approving a preliminary plat for that. Explain a little bit, I'm not in the real estate business, Mr. Chairman, and most of our citizens out here aren't. So be a little more detailed on what our commissions consider.
Okay. We have subdivision regulations that developers have to abide by. Developers can obviously develop land wherever they want in unincorporated Houston County as long as they meet our subdivision regulations and other requirements. The preliminary plat, and Mark, you correct me if I'm wrong, the preliminary plat, they have to get approved by us after submittal to engineering with all the technical requirements, I'll say, so they can then build the subdivision. Once the subdivision is built, they submit a final plat to us that we approve. Once the final plat is approved, then they can begin selling lots. Okay. Any other questions about this? Any objections to adding this to the agenda? All right. Anything else from the commission to be considered for the agenda or just comment?
I would like to place one item on the agenda on where they request to consider a resolution regarding local legislation concerning the appointment process. So stuff.
Okay. You and I just talked about that in my office, and I said, Commissioner Herring and I discussed talking about this in 2 weeks, and didn't hear anything else other than that. So what happened between our wall from upstairs down here?
Best if I just keep that specific comment to myself, but I do believe that I want to move forward. I just feel like we need to move forward. Pendulum, and I can go into a long explanation. I don't know if you want to talk about that or not. But,
Well, no, I mean, I'll be glad to talk about it. I think there is
desire and effort, but I will also say, I think our lawyer is working on information to be sure we do this right. I would not be in favor of putting anything on the agenda until our lawyer blesses it, and in discussions, and you correct me if I'm wrong, in discussions we had yesterday, it is the intent that we would put something on the agenda in 2 weeks to address this. All right.
No, we did discuss that. However, I got a statement prepared just in case this one to come up.
Mhm.
I'm fixing, if you don't mind. Commissioners, you all know how I feel about this issue. It is not fair. You have an untouchable board and a board chairman who rules with an iron fist. This amendment will give final clarity to an issue that this commission has faced dating back to 1995, with former Commissioner Yelverton, Commissioner Francis Cook also faced the same issue with the current board chairman. That's exactly how we got put on the board, how he got put on the board, and now he's fighting tooth and nail to prevent the exact process that afforded him the opportunity to serve. Montgomery supports this moving forward. This community supports this moving forward, and I think that this commission supports this moving forward. The only, and I repeat, the only negative comments I have received from the community regarding this issue is from the board members themselves. This should have been fixed 15 years ago, and this board has strong-armed elected officials since then. It's time that it gets fixed, not only for the present time, but for the future commissioners and persons that they choose to serve. I'd like to ask the CEO, Rick Sutton, and Board Chairman Chester Sawa and Vice Chairman John McDaniel to come meet with the entire commission at an upcoming commission meeting or at a work session. Thank you. Just getting back to my comment, which, the commission will decide what else to do, and I'll be.
Sir, could you speak up? I can't hear. I know these people in the back can't.
Whatever, we decide, but, we do resolutions all the time. I guess it's just a request to pass a resolution, requesting what legislation be passed. It's not a, formal law that we're voting on. Anyway, that's just my opinion, and I recognize that there may be a differing opinion. I don't think that there's much difference in where we want to go, but maybe how to get there.
It's just a timing thing. We don't even, I think it's not legislation. I think it's based on our conversation, it's going to have to be a constitutional amendment. But I haven't even seen a constitutional amendment or we haven't had a discussion about why it has to be. And from this seat, it's my job to be sure we do things right. And I don't want to put something before us that we may find out later I just want to be sure we do it right. And I think rushing it on this agenda, as I told you this morning, I have no problem putting this on there. I just think we need to wait until the next meeting. It's a constitutional amendment, so it does not have to be advertised. So there's not a timing issue at all. It doesn't have to have the 3 weeks advertising. So waiting for 2 weeks, I think, to give press time to be sure he's gonna give us what we want. But I just want to be sure we do it in the right manner. I'm here on the side of caution as opposed to the side of press. That's the only thing. I mean, it's obvious y'all, I think, at least from this side, I don't have to do. It's obvious y'all want to do something. It's my job to make sure what y'all want to do, we do right. Does that make sense?
I have a problem with put anything on the agenda until it's looked at, studied, and a little research on what we're voting on. We bring it before this commission, and then we're having more dialogue and discussion, and we haven't accomplished anything. We certainly haven't accomplished anything in the last 2 months on the same issue. Now, there are some hurdles that we have to cross and get over, but that resolution may be well and good, but I'd like to see some study and research done on it before we bring it to the president. And then have it resolved to the point where we feel comfortable on voting the way we need to vote to make this.
I don't see no wrong way. I think it's just a resolution. He's just expressing how we feel as a commission. It's not going into a law or anything, or we're not making any changes. It's just a resolution. That's what it is.
resolution asking for legislation.
You ask him.
I think what I was planning to do is actually have on the agenda in 2 weeks. Request to approve the legislation.
This is resolution.
So we'll do whatever y'all want. But so you want to approve a resolution today to have, and then have the law in 2 weeks. So
I mean, Mr. Chairman, I get what you're saying as far as the law goes, and we want to make sure with our council that the commission is doing everything legal moving forward. That, yeah, right. So with that being said, a resolution, my understanding, if I'm, you help correct me, you've been around 30-something years, Mr. Doug, you might have correct me, 12 years or something. So a resolution is just a binding thing saying a commission agrees to move forward and for the delegation to take it at this point, for the legislative delegation to take it and say, hey, y'all help us clarify this and correct this problem. That's my understanding of a resolution.
all right, so what I think I'm hearing is y'all want to make a statement of position, really more than anything else.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so how about we do this? How about we craft, if you want something on the agenda, how about we craft a resolution asking our legislators and legal counsel to prepare legislation or prepare legislation, we'll say legislation, for the next meeting. How about that? That'll get your public positioning out there.
So the next
But
meeting,
still get us the next meeting.
the next meeting in November, we'll make a decision.
That's right.
Okay.
I mean, we're basically addressing it in 2 meetings, but if that's what you want to do, that's fine. We can prepare.
And I do want to say this, I appreciate you, I know this is, kind of a difficult time or difficult subject that the commission work on. I appreciate your leadership and guiding us through that. Also, want to make sure that, at least I'm not misunderstood, and I don't think any of us are misunderstood, that we don't appreciate what the board of Southeast Health does. They have a tremendously tough job. And it's made a whole lot more difficult by a lot of decisions that are made, not in this community, decisions that are made in Washington, D.C. and the reimbursement and things like that. They've got a tough job. I think they're doing, for the most part, a pretty decent job. But, there's just long-term health of the hospitals is going to require new people. And I don't think we're being overly demanding by trying to get one new board. We appointed 3 of the 4 board members that they suggested. I think that 1 out of 4 is not unreasonable, but I don't want them to think that we don't appreciate what they do. It's just a difference of opinion, and I know we're going to work through it. Chairman Colbert, I appreciate your efforts in guiding us through this.
Okay, I'm trying to do this. Okay, I'm gonna put on the agenda, if I heard right. We're gonna put request to adopt a resolution requesting our legislative delegation and county attorney to prepare legislation changing manner of appointment of healthcare authority members, something along that line. Okay. I think we did that. I mean, we did that, the majority of y'all in favor of that.
No objection from me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right, we will do that, and I will, when y'all want to prepare that, you don't get that resolution, or you'll need to press it. Okay, we'll do it. Okay. All right, anything else? From the commission, I just didn't want us to just say, we don't throw on the agenda, let's approve a piece of legislation that nobody can see, that's what I was trying to avoid, yeah.
When it come down to the people that said it done, that's what the amendment is. It's gonna come down to the people in Houston County deciding who they want to make that appointment, and then that'll be resolved at that point.
All right, anything else? If I need to get pay raise too. All right, then we stand adjourned, thanks.